in the energy space, Eskom's proposed curtailment framework is set to grant new energy projects easier access to the electricity grid in the short term. But leaders in the renewable energy industry accuse energy regulator Nersa of stalling the process. Business Day's energy writer Denene Erasmus joins us with greater perspective on the impact this is having on the country's energy generation plans. Denene, thanks so much for your time today. Now, as we get started, the renewable energy industry has been very vocal about its frustrations. Just take us through the key regulatory issues the industry has been facing.
So I think that there's various frustrations. I think mainly it's the fact that in those provinces that hold the highest potential for wind energy in particular, and that's mainly the Cape provinces, Eskom has essentially run out of capacity to connect new projects to the grid. And this was one of the main reasons why during bid window 6 of the Renewable Energy Independent Power Procurement Round, we saw no wind bids be awarded. And the danger now is that we are going to see the same thing in bid window 7, which is currently running. However, Eskom did propose this curtailment framework earlier this year. And if that does get approved in time, then it would enable about 3,500 megawatts of new projects to connect in those provinces that are currently oversubscribed. So the big frustration that the industry has at the moment is that they are just not seeing that urgency and fast enough progress in the Nersa process to get that curtailment framework approved and in place, so that Eskom is in a position to issue budget quotes and to allow new projects, especially wind, in those provinces.
So I guess those frustrations really warranted. But what is holding up, this framework? Why isn't it being pushed through by Nersa?
I think that's the question that the industry has as well, is to understand why this is just not getting approved. It's been sitting with the regulator for months now. And I mean, there's not been any significant pushback against it. So I think that's really the question that the industry has and that Eskom has, and also the IPP offices ask, why is this not moving faster? And I think that's also why we are seeing criticism from the industry. Yeah. And we've also seen from the Minister of Electricity and Energy, Renewable, coming out and criticizing Nersa, and also saying that it does seem as if the regulator is not sufficiently capacitated to deal with the fast evolving energy landscape that we have in South Africa.
And, you mentioned the Minister of Electricity, Renewable, saying that Nersa doesn't have the capacity to deal with this. What is government doing on their side? Are they trying to support Nersa?
So the ministry has come out to say that they are aware of this, and this is a problem that Nersa itself has raised through the chairman and the CEO, to say that the regulator really does need more capacity so that it is able to deal with a lot of more work coming its way. Yeah. So we are now seeing that as the energy landscape liberalizes, Nersa has to deal with completely new issues that it hasn't dealt with before. And that's to look at a lot of it has got to do with how the tariffs are going to function in the future. But also a lot of what they are dealing with at the moment has to do with access to the network and how to make sure that access is fair between private and public operators as this landscape expands. So yes, I think government and the ministry that in particular is aware of this problem, and it has said, the minister has said that they are focusing on this as a priority within the ministry.
Let's just go back to that framework, that legislation that was trying to get pushed through. What benefits would it then have if that curtailment framework came through, and what kind of benefit would it have on the renewable energy sector?
So I think that the industry has said that they, to an extent, are happy to accept curtailment, because curtailment, of course, means that a renewable energy project isn't able to serve all the electricity it can generate onto the network. So the industry has said that they are in principle happy with what the framework suggests, which is roughly a 10% curtailment. And what that would then enable is to allow more projects onto the network if those existing projects then accept the 10% curtailment. And I think where this is really going to make a big difference on the South African grid at the moment is that we are already seeing that there is much more solar on the grid than wind. So we do need to better balance the grid. We do need to get more wind power in those areas where we do have a lot of solar power at the moment.
So there seems to be, some pushback with that curtailment framework as well. Is that what we're seeing playing out?
I think as it's being suggested at the moment, the industry has been broadly accepting of it, but then but that's not the end goal. We do need a more formalized curtailment framework that can be implemented over the longer term as these issues become more prevalent across the country. And I think we will see much more robust debate and the industry participating once we get to that point of developing the longer term regulation around how curtailment is going to work.
Yeah, now would you say, just before I let you go, would you say these grid constraints inevitably then kind of hinder growth and investment opportunities within that renewable sector?
Absolutely. That is the single biggest challenge that the renewable sector sees at the moment. And it's there are so many factors that are influenced by this. For example, one of the reasons why we have seen Eskom delay the decommissioning of some of their coal-fired power stations is because some of the renewable projects that were supposed to come online from next year are being delayed in some cases because of these grid issues. And we know that South Africa really needs to get to a point where we are rolling out 4 to 5 gigawatts of renewable energy per year. And at the moment where we are sitting with the grid development, that we are just not seeing transmission infrastructure being built quickly enough to enable that type of investment. So it is at the moment one of the most significant challenges for the industry.
Now, Denene, we might not have load shedding, but there seems to be a lot of work that needs to be done in that sector. Thank you so much for your time and just sharing those insights. That was Business Day's energy writer, Denene Erasmus.